right, Black Box Radio. Tonight we are the Community Corner, and we have a special guest. We have Miss Karen York with us. So we're so happy and so humbly grateful you decided to come in with us, Miss York. So we appreciate that. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but this is the Community Corner. It used to be the Community Crew, so now we kind of moved into the Community Corner. And I want Antoine to introduce himself. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Queen from Black Box Radio. And Antoine, tell the people who you are and what you do, bro.
Antoine from Hope, Baltimore. Sustain support for returning citizens, define the pathways and relief of hope in oppressed neighborhoods.
All right, so tonight we have Karen York, the dynamic. First of all, we're going to talk about you. Then we're going to jump into the topic. But you're dynamic, which I read your resume. You're doing it. So you are the youngest CEO. You are the first African-American female CEO. So tell us about your ascent and what you've done and how'd you get here? And who are you?
So first, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. I've seen you on the stratospheres and having these dope conversations and bringing together some dope folks who I respect. So I was very honored and humbled when I saw that you wanted little old me on your show.
Of course.
Absolutely. And absolutely so grateful to join Twan. We go way, way, way back, like way back to like when he first came home.
Like way back.
Way
was that
back.
Twan? That's like 2000 what? When was that, bro?
14.
2014. It's 2021.
2014. Wow. I mean, like he just came home. Maybe was just like on the streets for maybe like a couple months.
Whoa.
And as soon as he got out, I know we're supposed to, but his story is also a part of my story.
We're talking.
His story is also part of my story.
Sure.
When Twan came home, it was right around the time when I really started to go hard on, criminal justice reform, economic justice reform, and the like. And, when Twan came home, he immediately started getting engaged, in community.
Yeah. And
attended meetings and the like. And so even though he was attending these meetings, with a program that had, was facilitating his release and reentry, he was still involved and, still listening and the like. And so there was one meeting where he attended, and it was the Baltimore Grassroots Reentry Network, something. It was a long name. I don't know. But it was like we met all the time.
Okay.
And, it was Twan's first time there. And, they were, he and his crew, they were talking about this program and like everybody was in it. And it sounded like the
program he was in, they were talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it sounded like it was amazing. And, Twan was there and it looked like he had something to say, but there wasn't a chance for him to speak until I was like, I'm sorry. And Twan, tell me if I'm wrong, right? I stopped the meeting and was like, I'm sorry. I would like to hear from him. He can talk.
Well, let me ask a question. Who was actually speaking? Like the administrator? Who was speaking?
It was at the time, it was the program manager.
Got it.
It was the program manager that was presenting the program to the group.
Got it.
As should happen, right? I'm here to present, blah, blah,
sure,
blah.
Sure.
But I think a lot of times, you're so focused on trying to get your presentation in that you don't, also want to make space for other people to speak. And probably might also be thinking, he doesn't want to speak. He might not feel comfortable speaking. But at that time, it looked like he was ready to talk. It looked like he had been at enough meetings and he's like,
he was ready.
Oh, I got something to say. And when he got the floor, the rest is history.
Really? Twan, you hit him like that, bro? You hit him hard, did you, bro?
Yeah, and Karen said, you got something. Don't stop. I said, I ain't. She said, go hard like you went hard in the streets. Stay with me and I got you. So I'm with you.
Love it. Love it.
Wow. So it was right around that time when there started to be a lot of real focus and movement on criminal justice reform.
Yep. The uprising was 2015. The uprising.
Yeah.
A lot of things Baltimore was blowing,
Right. Right. I mean, that time was just a very timely, momentous moment, not just for Baltimore, but around the country.
Around
right?
the country, yeah.
Leading up to that time, I had only been focused. I was a policy advocate at JOTF, Job Opportunities Task Force. Our focus, is to help low wage workers advance to high wage jobs, right? We're about jobs. How do we help folks get employed? How do we make sure, folks coming home can get employed? So a lot of times we were just focused on criminal record expungement, because we were finding that, okay, once they home, that record is causing them problems.
Got it.
But then, I'm starting to look around and I'm starting to attend meetings, and I'm like, we can't just focus on the back end. Why are they going in on the first? What's happening on the front end?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on over there?
Absolutely.
And so right around that time, that's where you having the Baltimore uprising, you having the DOJ report coming out.
Yes.
Not only do you have these things coming home, you got folks coming home. And the folks that are coming home, like Twan and others, they hungry.
Yes.
Okay? They are hungry because they know they had time to sit and think, and they like, oh, no. These systems ain't right.
Well, did they still have the compact then?
That's what I was saying.
So the compact, they were still transitioning ex-felons to the compact. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So folks are coming home, like whether it was through the compact, whether it was on the Unger decision, it was, you just had a good group of folks that's like, we hungry, we ready to do the work, right? We ready to give back to community. Give us the tools, show us how to do it, and like, let us go.
Okay.
And so you started to also see a lot of talk around cash bail in the pretrial system, and how folks getting jammed up in that system, and then starting to really look at things like sentencing and justice reinvestment, and how long folks are having to serve for drug crimes and mandatory minimums and all of these things.
So the light was on criminal justice. So you're telling me like the light bulb was on it, shining like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and we got to do something.
We couldn't ignore it.
Wow.
We could not ignore it, because not only did we see that our communities in Baltimore City, right, the communities that had the highest crime were also the communities that had the highest numbers of individuals that was returning back from incarceration. They had the highest unemployment rates, all the bad metrics that you don't see in Roland Park and all these other areas.
Yep.
And these were the communities that folks are returning home to. No type of opportunity. So they like, what you expect? I mean, Twan could tell it better than me, but it's like, what you expect us to do?
You know what they say? If you put access, you put a 700 credit score, and you put some jobs in the community, you don't see no crime. You don't see no foolishness, because people busy. But when you take all of that away and bring people in who have less than them, you're going to get chaos.
You're going to get chaos.
But
we already got chaos and devastation. So we're looking around, and, it's folks like myself, friends with Out for Justice, my best friend who leads Out for Justice, Nicole Mundell. We pretty much took to the streets and was like, look, y'all, it's one thing to be here in these streets and doing our thing here. Y'all need to come to us to Annapolis.
So it's time to go to the people. Woo-hoo.
Gotta go to Annapolis.
Let's
go to the white bastions of power.
Yes.
Okay? That is where they passing them laws.
That's where the power is at.
That's where it's happening.
Yeah.
When they got in Annapolis, they was like,
what? I was like,
tell them, Twan. Tell them, Twan.
I was like, what? All this going on? This is crazy. And like, Karen was just like, I was trying to get her attention. And she's like, Twan, I ain't got time. You on your own. You can hold your own. She was everywhere.
She's like, I'm busy.
I'm like, I brought let you here.
But when you see it on television, you think they just sit down, but it's so much movement in the background and through the committees and in the back rooms. But people don't know that. They think they just come to the floor and have these nice little, it's not like that.
We sitting up there having to divide and conquer. We got like 4 or 5 hearings at the same time. We like, okay, somebody be in this committee. Somebody be in this committee. Somebody be, and then we going to switch. And then we got to hold it down everywhere. Because in Annapolis, what's unique about the relationship between Annapolis and Baltimore City that you don't find across the state is that when we want to address those key issues that impact the folks in Baltimore City, we can't just go to City Hall. You got to go to Annapolis. But if you want to do that in Prince George's or Montgomery County, and you just go to your county council building.
Yeah. But why can't we do that? Why can't we go to City Hall?
Because the state has so much control over many of our city functions. So if we want to do anything really with city schools, we got to go to Annapolis.
They control the schools. They control the police department. Yeah.
The police department. Yep. See, police reform and all that. You got to go to Annapolis. You want to do anything around the Baltimore pretrial system, anything that's happening at Central Bookends, Annapolis.
But does that cripple the city? Is that like a shackle that the city doesn't control its own major systems? Is that an issue?
It is, and it's like it's a bit cyclical too, because what I found out is that Maryland is the only state in the country that owns a local booking facility. There's no other state in the nation that owns a central booking in their city.
Really?
We the only state, right? And the reason why, I didn't either. I was like, what?
I didn't know that. Wow.
And the reason why Maryland runs central bookings is because apparently in the 90s, there was budgetary issues with the city. They couldn't afford corrections, and they were locking everybody up in Baltimore City.
Yep. Yeah,
that's literally locking everybody up almost.
I remember when the state came in and took over city jail.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And they was looking at the food, putting us in clothes, and we was like, nah, y'all ain't doing none of that. And that's when they got in the process of tearing that other part down on Madison to make right there where the bookings is at. So they was using people that was in work release to do like, in order to get outside, well, you can go over here and work volunteer to like move bricks. And, dudes was coming back down with concrete trades, electrician, plumbing trades, and they used them as a means of way to build that institution.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like you got...
Listen, all of this, you hear, sis, how again they're leveraging bodies, they're leveraging skills. This is the same thing with happened to the slaves. They leverage our skill. We got to go back
because they didn't get paid. Did they get paid, Twan?
No,
did they get paid? Okay, yeah. Slavery, like she said.
I'm saying we are leveraging. It shows how they do the same malicious action and never changes unless you change it, because they leverage bodies, they leverage those great skills. And they built a nation. Now you leverage the great grandchildren of those same people to imprison them, to keep them in a system so you can control them.
I remember in 2017, we were pushing a bill. So everybody's familiar with Ban the Box, right? Ban the Box is, there's a box on job applications. You got to check a box if you've ever been arrested or convicted of a crime.
Okay.
But nobody was really talking about the fact that question was also on college applications.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You brought that up.
Community college. I mean, all types of.
You know what it was.
Health insurance.
That's how I was. I was like, you know what? It sure is.
Because when I went to Morgan, that was there, but we don't have that problem. So
we don't have that problem. It just
goes over your head.
Right over your head. Okay. So I was like, hold on. Wait a minute. Y'all denying people because they gotta. This was the argument that the schools, because the educational institutions, the colleges and universities, right, the ones that's supposed to teach and provide education. Remember, everybody's supposed to be able to get education.
Absolutely.
It's supposed to be a ticket out of poverty and all of that.
It's a right, remember.
Right? That's what they had said, right? That's what they had said. Okay. So that's what they had said. So that's what we believe it, right? Until they say, well, wait a minute, are you saying that they should be able to go to college? Yeah. Like what? Yeah. I mean, this whole idea, you mean to tell me you're totally okay providing college education when they're incarcerated.
Huh.
But when they are out, and they want to continue their education to empower themselves.
No,
I don't know about all that.
I don't know about all that, because really the only way that you can get an education is that you give it back to me. And if you're not giving it back to me, you don't need it. Wow. When I tell you, you hear how these systems continue to develop, they come from a place of enslavement, of discrimination, of hierarchies. And you see it over and over and over. And it goes from school, jail, every system that is created in this country has these type of movements where it keeps people out. And if you're coming out of jail or you're an ex-felon, how do you jump through these hoops? How are you going to have an intelligent society if you don't allow people to access the intelligence? How do you do it? You continue. So you want this type of society where half are in the know and half are begging to know. That's what you want?
They want.
I don't know, because it's like,
I want to know.
They say the words, we want like get a job and do all of these things, but everything else says the opposite. So I'm confused.
What's set up is opposites of what's coming out their mouths. In other words, what do you think, Twan?
Put it on paper to say, like, because a lot of times they think we ain't gonna read. So on paper, and get on TV and say, like, yeah, we proposing this and you can get this and you get that. But in the real result, when you start going to get those things and you get shot down so many times, you already like, you know what, I ain't think I was gonna get a shot anyway, so hell with it. You know, because like Karen will tell you at one point in time, I was like, Karen, them people ain't gonna listen to me. She was like, Twan, like when you was in the street, you ain't worrying about them listening to you then.
Yeah.
You made it happen then.
That's the truth.
You had them alleys then.
Yeah.
So make them, and the one thing that stuck with me, she said, make them come after you now the way they came for you to put you away for those years. And I said, like, that's what we gonna do.
Because you already know, like you already know that they doubting you.
Yeah.
They expecting you to violate. They expecting you to come back to them. They expect that you, like Twan said, that you can't read, you illiterate. You know, you're not going to be able to understand the legislation. You're not going to be able to present and testify. None of us are perfect, okay? But I'm telling you, Twan is like an amazing example of someone that's like, give me a little bit of time. And you stick with me just a little bit.
And a little bit of space.
I'm gonna show you something.
And some resources. And look at his build. That's why he's sitting here with me. He's amazing. And I always tell him that he is amazing. And if there's anything for the state to see, they should see his story.
Isn't this what we should be? This is exactly the process. This process right here is what we should be supporting. Someone who literally left your system and you ain't do nothing to in terms of rehabilitation.
You shut it down, his rehabilitation. You
literally
shut it down, literally. And he came back and reinstated it.
And is working on actually rehabilitating the folks who y'all ain't rehabilitate. He knows because y'all ain't rehabilitate him.
And not only that, you still want to keep him in the system too while he helped your system. How you do that? How arrogant is that? How do you hold a person in the system that is helping you with your system? You know what? These folk crazy.
You know what?
It's a snatch and grab, Mom. I told you, it's a snatch and grab.
They're crazy, sis. They are crazy. And what I wonder is, when do you think of this? At breakfast, dinner? When are you thinking of this? How do you conjure up these type of systems that are so diabolical? We used to say, like, because we used to ask ourselves those same questions, like, was there like a white person's convention or something? Do they have them regularly or something? Was there like some strategic planning process? You know what I'm saying? Did they have like some strategic planning process that they have like maybe every 3 to 7 years? I don't know. Where they come together? Yes. How do they get this stuff?
Where are y'all conventions? Because if they having conventions, we need to be having some conventions too. Because I mean, it is amazing how they all seem to just come together. Like their interests align, and it's all about it's money and power, money and power, money
See, one
and
thing
power.
about the oppressor is they don't have to like each other. They like their spaces. They like their power. They like how they move. So if they have to come together with the devil to keep that space, they will do that. We on the other turn, we got all of these standards. It got to be this way, it got to be that way. You know, I don't like how her hair is. I don't like her accent. You know, he got his hat to the back. We got all these standards.
All this extra stuff.
All this extra stuff that's ancillary. But they understand that they want to keep their spaces.
Power.
And it's power. It's all about power. And the question is, are we going to galvanize ourselves? Are we going to put ourselves in positions where we can be a unit, where we can actually move as units? Because you can't beat them one-on-one. I'm going to tell you right now. This I can handle it. No, you can't. The head is too big for you. It's too powerful. It has too many resources. It's too diabolical.
Twan and all my partners know. Okay, like even though I may be the leader of my organization, I may be known for. I'm very clear. I never have and never will do anything alone. There is no way in the world that we can do this type of work alone. Okay, we're talking about
put it together alone.
We're talking about a white supremacist society that is built and funded and fueled off our bodies.
Yep.
Right. In some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And so, and there are people who have moneyed interest in keeping that status quo, even as they say things like equality and equity and, fairness and all of these things. Right. Mm-hmm. And so there's no way you can do this work alone, because there have been so many instances where at the end of that 90-day session in Annapolis, I have broke down in tears. I don't know how I'm going to go any further. Okay. Because when you got to deal with folks, and it's like, I don't know how to explain it any other way, that we talking about people's lives here. And then when you just thinking about having to go back to community, and thank goodness, community loves and respects and cares for me enough where I could go back to them and say, we just couldn't do it. I tried my hardest, but we could not do it. Wow. We could not do it, but we still got to keep the fight. Right. Like, that's very emotionally draining. Mm-hmm. It can be defeating, demoralizing, all of those things, but we got to keep doing it because we got, because ain't nobody else doing it.
Nope.
We got. That's why I was so eager. Like, Twan, we need y'all in Annapolis. We can't do this alone.
No, I know.
Can't do this alone.
Well, it wasn't built alone, and I call it the white supremacy apparatus. And all of these cogs are in this wheel: education, jails, everything,
workforce, all of it.
Workforce, everything in their society is, and in the middle of it is called E for economics. And so everything dumps into the economic, which builds power, because resource is power. Yeah. And so this apparatus continues to move forward, and we are dropping into it too, because we live and we are acculturated into this society. So if you try to get into this wheel, it's going to chew you up. Yeah. You got to have pieces attacking each cog, or like how you guys say you went to different subcommittees. You got to have that, because you got to know what's going on over here, and you got to know what's going on. Because if you try to deal with this apparatus that they set up, they're going to eat you alive.
Listen, sis, I don't know if Twan remember this. Twan, I got to say this real fast before you jump in. I don't know if Twan remembers this. And at first, when he told me this, and I can't remember who else he was with. It was him and two other dudes. And at first I was offended when they told me this, and it actually took me a while to really understand what they meant. And they were so right. Twan and these guys one time, I can't even remember the issue that we were working on, but it was like they had taken it to the streets, right? They was going to the streets. They was organizing, they were going to they was doing a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I thought that I was ready, right? I'm like, where we at? Sis, they were like, no, you
not
go
you.
Home.
You're not going.
This ain't your lane.
Ooh.
Okay. Your lane is them rooms in Annapolis that we can't get in.
Love it. And that's the truth.
I ain't get it at first. At first I was offended. Like, you mean I can't be on the front lines? Like
to fuck me? What the?
Can't get hurt, short. You can't get hurt, short.
But they were protecting you, and that's what our men are supposed to do. We're not even used to it, sis.
No, I wasn't.
We're not even used to being taken care of by our men. That we feel that we got to fight all the time on the front lines. But they were saying, listen, we need you on the back end. That's where your power is. We got the streets.
Yeah.
That's where we from. Yeah. That's what we need. And that's community right there.
Yeah.
That's real organizing.
Yeah.
Where he's telling you there's a space for you, but this ain't your space.
This not your space. So take your little skinny self. You know, it was like, take your little skinny self back over there.
I told Karen, I say, Karen, when I need you to come in the hoods, you gonna come.
But until then,
I need you to be there, handle this, so it can be set up, and then we'll get the block there. And I remember, like, Karen, you remember when we first went up bombing, right? And all the dudes was like, who short? Like, I like short. I said, that's sis, man. Oh, thank you, sis. Look, whatever. Just tell let us know going on. And like, I always tell Queen how everybody take about this weekend resource. I say, that was Kern's idea. Came with the lawyers. We need to do expungements late night, Twan. We need to get a grill out here. We need to da-da-da-da. And I was like, Kern, how are we going to do? Because we need to take shifts because y'all can't be out here all night.
I know. Look, you know, in my mind, look, and it was me and my partner, Nicole. We like, what you mean we can't be out here at 6 p.m.?
I know. We can handle it. We can handle it.
What you mean? What you mean we can't? We have Frederick and Collins. We over in Cherry Hill. We out. What you mean?
Karen, you got married with me and jetted and went over Bel Air Road. I
sure did.
When you was over there.
I sure did.
They said, yo, Karen over Bel Air Road, 1 o'clock in the morning.
But now you see that is what real that our men are on the front line out in the hood and in the streets. And sometimes we need to stand back and let them do it.
No, I know. And I had to because it did get to a point where I was like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What am I doing out here? And right, I do not need to be out here like this.
Yeah. You think about it like, wow, it sounded good. But now in doing it, it's not that safe.
With my team, with my village, they right. And they showed up, that army showed up, the brothers in the bow tie, Twan and his group. I mean, they took care of their sisters because we have to do this together.
Yes.
Right? Like when we take in the streets to the state house and then what we able to do at the state house back to the streets, that means everybody got to stay in that lane and them lanes got to all work together.
And we got to trust each other. We got to trust each other that, you know, we all are in the same spaces. A lot of time, that's the problem. We don't trust a person to carry out what we think we want done. Mm-hmm. But we got to trust each other. And then the way that people actually apply things, the application might be different than you, but it has to be the same results. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that's hard to do. It's hard to trust your genius to someone else who, you know, that you're not sure. That shit is hard. But you gotta do it.
You gotta do it because I had to realize I had to do it because that's how I learned. I didn't come out the womb just like, you know, knowing this and being this like fiery. No, like somebody had to share their spotlight.
Yeah.
Somebody had to share their expertise. Somebody had to take the time, right? When they weren't so like busy, take the time when they could to be like, all right, for real. This is what you want to, you know, make sure you keep in mind. This is how you come at the end. Twan remembers this. This is how you go after those funders. Okay. Yeah. This is how you approach them. Yeah. Yep. This is how you make sure you do. This is how you're going to move like this. Okay. Yeah. And then next thing you know, they coming for you like they was coming for you when they were on them streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, hold up. Wait a minute. Now I'm in grant funding meetings. Hold up. Wait a minute.
And who's it?
Wait a minute. Hold up, sis. Sis, listen.
You're killing me.
Sis, listen.
I'm grabbing my pearls.
Sis, listen. Sis. I'm in meetings, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm in meetings, trying to do my thing. Okay. Man telling me he already know about me because of Antoine with Hope. I said, okay.
You're like, what the heck?
Okay.
Yeah.
It was like great program. I mean, he is a leader. I wanted to be like,
I knew that. You're just learning that. I've been knew that.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm shocked. Like, wait a minute, this is my meeting. But then I was also so proud. I was like, he did it.
Yeah.
He did it.
It is like, it's almost like when you put water on a seed and you come back 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, I gotta leave. You know, it's like you watered him. And look, this young, I mean, he's actually doing amazing things and going to continue. And you know, it is a testament that when you invest in people and allow them to figure it out and invest in themselves, they in turn go and try to invest in others. That's what this thing should be about.
That's what it's about.
It's what it's about. But that's not what's happening. We want to keep people in a place where they continue to serve you, and then they never ever live out their greatness. That is not why God have us here. So we got to find a way that has to end. The topic tonight is the system's propensity to criminalize poverty. But I know we're going to verge 500 places because this is just so powerful, our coming together. But the system is the bane to our own existence. I mean, the system is wreaking havoc on community.
Listen, you know, when we talk about systems, right? We usually talk about the same systems, and I don't mean to say it like the same systems, but it's the same systems that we talk about because we're recycling in and out of them, right?
Yep.
The criminal justice system, the correctional system, the child support system, the welfare system, you know, protective services, right? Those types of systems, right?
Systems,
okay. Systems that are having a negative, disproportionate impact on Black men and women.
Absolutely.
But what I found a couple years ago, and again, this was right around 2015, where it's like, wait a minute, there's another system that has been born out of all these crazy racist systems. And this is the system of the criminalization of poverty.
That's where it all starts.
That is the nexus, right?
Yeah.
This idea that it is a crime to be poor. Okay?
Yeah.
When you ain't got it, that means you about to get got. By the system.
By the system.
It's at every level. The last report that my organization put out was this report was 104 pages to pretty much prove how in the state of Maryland, our own laws and policies are criminalizing not just poor folks, but poor Black folks. And broke it down into 3 parts. Okay. So you got the first part, the common ways by which you interacting with the system as a poor Black folk. Racial profiling. Okay. That's just the entry point for all Black and brown folks, quite honestly. It don't matter your economic status. All right. Like, and I need folks to understand.
All of us get it. It's happened to all of us.
What Malcolm X say? He was like, what do they call a Black person with a PhD and a master's and okay, right? Moving on.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you got racial profiling. Then you got the cash bail system, right?
We still
overwhelmingly impacting poor Black folks.
All day.
I haven't even been sentenced or nothing. I ain't got it. So I got to go to jail because I ain't got it?
Yep.
But if I got the money, then cash bail. Motor vehicle violations.
Yep.
Okay? That's what's really getting folks down. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because I really think we need to, this is a big piece because it goes a couple ways. It's a big piece, all right?
Yep.
So think about, on the one hand, your brake light is out. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, you got some type of car malfunction. You get stopped because you know that's what happened. They like you got a raggedy car, so there must be drugs in there. Okay, so you getting stopped for having your light hanging off or something like that. Something ain't right. So they're like, you got to get this fixed. They usually give you a repair order. They give you some time to get it fixed. I ain't gonna be able to get it fixed because I ain't got the money to do it. If you don't get it fixed, you get hit with a fine.
Yep.
You don't pay that fine, it accrues, you can go to jail. Okay.
Yep.
That's
Wait.
one.
That doesn't go against your tags. You can go to jail.
Yeah, you go to jail.
Like if you, yeah.
You go to jail. Yeah.
Mhm.
Jail?
Yeah. Because what happens is, I mean, to your point, and I kind of did skip over that part, to your point, in addition to the fines and fees, then your tags and everything starts to get, suspended and revoked. But listen, I need folks to understand, because I even have to say this in Annapolis, and they always do this. My word. But let me tell you something. If I have a car and I have to go to work, and you've suspended my license or my registration because I couldn't pay for this vehicle malfunction, because I'm trying to take care of my kids, but I can't pay for the child support that you're making me pay for, okay? Or because I can't afford car insurance, which a lot of times is higher than the actual car payment. If I'm a certain race, I live in a certain zip code, I got a low credit score, and I only got a high school diploma.
MAFE. Yep.
You can suspend my license and registration all you want. I'm still driving. Okay. Why? Because I gotta go to work. Okay. I gotta take care of my kids. I got stuff to do. I'm not gonna just leave my car. And especially if I need my car to go get the money to be able to pay down these fines and stuff so I can get back on the road.
So you gotta risk it.
So then when I'm driving dirty, because that's an incarcerable offense, you're not supposed to be out on the road driving without car insurance, driving without a license, driving without, registration. Now in Maryland, we got license plate readers. Okay. So if I'm in a community, that happened a couple years ago. A lot of folks don't know about that. We got license plate readers now. Yeah.
Really?
So now if I'm in a community that's got heavy police activity, that's always, doing routine stops and all that, because it's an incarcerable offense to drive without a license, revoke registration, suspended, all of that, without car insurance, you can go to jail. So you are literally criminalized because you couldn't meet the financial demands of some law.
Wow.
One of the key ways that motor vehicle violations is driving so many individuals into the system. Then once you in the system, you get hit with all these fines and fees. So we just talked about on the front end. Just imagine you got a public defender fee. In some counties, you got to pay for incarceration. You got to pay for alcohol. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for that. You got all of this stuff. Restitution. You got all of this, right?
All this shit.
Ain't got no job. Ain't got shit. Okay?
Wow.
All of this stuff you're supposed to pay, right? Many times, they will make this a condition of your probation or your parole. So if you don't pay, you've now violated.
They know you are in jail, jobless. They put conditions on you to immediately pay something that you
when
can't
you get out,
and they know it because they know where you're coming from. And if you don't pay it, you're going back to the same place I'm paroling you from.
Yeah,
because it's a violation of your parole
with the same fees that you left with. That never goes away. Does that? Also, if you go back to jail, they still keep the.
It rotated, and you get released, and it'll still be there.
We just bailed somebody out on February 4th. This man has been locked up since December 7th because he had a violation of probation because he couldn't pay $157 in his court fees. While he was locked up, he contracted COVID. This what we're dealing with right here. This is what we're dealing with. So you're talking about how the system allows
$157, sis.
$157.50
from December to February.
Because it was a drug case. They gave him he got a PBJ, but he had to pay $157 in court fees.
Well, tell us what that is. What's a PBJ?
Oh, I'm sorry, probation before judgment.
Okay.
So the judge, like, you'll plead guilty, yes, I plead guilty. And they'll say, okay, instead of you having a guilty conviction, we'll put you on probation. And so after you finish your probation, you can then have it, you can expunge it off your record. Okay? But you can't expunge it off your record if, one, you don't pay your court fees. Okay. Or if you got restitution.
Yeah.
But how I'm gonna pay the restitution if I can't get a job
because it's
on a criminal record? But then if I don't pay the restitution, I could go to jail for not paying restitution. I don't understand.
What are we doing?
It's a whole snatch and grab, keep you in the cycle. It's like the cat chasing a mouse. It can never catch him.
And all you got to do is turn around and stop him from coming his way. But he keep going forward. What? Really? That is vicious. And they say that that's constitutional and that makes sense.
So here's the catch. The Supreme Court has ruled that it is unconstitutional to incarcerate an individual because they are poor. That's the thing. That is a constitutional rule, okay?
Yeah.
However, this is the loophole. I am going to make it a violation of your probation. That's how I get you, okay?
So that makes it a offense that you could criminalize.
You violated a condition of your release.
Yep.
And the condition of your release was that you got to pay this amount of money. And if you don't pay it, you have violated.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're going back in. That's how they get you, because they'll get on there. They're like, Karen, Miss York, we do not. The Supreme Court was like, yeah. I know. But the folks I'm dealing with, they got VOPs. They got violation of probation. Okay. That's what that is. That's how y'all get folks jammed up on the VOPs.
You know what? And again, I think voting is a tool, but this is why legislators and people sitting in those seats are so important, because they really don't know what's going on with people. They've never had these issues in their families. They don't have these issues. If
they do, they don't care. Because you can't tell me they don't got somebody in that family that got locked up.
Yeah,
but not generations. They don't have generations. It might be somebody.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
If your mama was in and your grandmother and your great-grand and everybody stepped into it, then that thing touches you. But if one person out of 1,000 goes in, then
you're right.
Something wrong with him. You see what I'm saying?
And that's just like when Karen start doing the bailout and everything, and I start looking at, okay, so let me look at certain things. And I started working with somebody from Maryland Legal Action Team, and we looking at, so I said to her, like, how many people actually get held with no bails? So we found out it was like 7,000.
7,000?
Then
7,000?
Yeah, 7,000. And 7,000 people are being held with no bails, and they full charges that are basically misdemeanors.
I was just about to say that. I literally was just about to say that.
Ain't no felonies.
It's
misdemeanors.
That's why we can't. And remember, sis, that's what I was saying earlier. I understand that there are some laws that will say, like, we used to have laws that said you couldn't vote because you were a felon, you couldn't do this because you were a felon. Yeah. In the state of Maryland, okay, because other states, yes, they doing stuff based on felonies. Please understand, in the state of Maryland, people is getting jammed up on these misdemeanors. Second degree assault is a misdemeanor. Possession of a handgun is a misdemeanor. Okay, we got misdemeanors where you can get 10 years.
All right, so this is what I want to do. Tell the people, what's a misdemeanor? What makes it? What's a misdemeanor? What's a felony?
So a misdemeanor is what is considered the lower level offense.
That's a lower level.
So misdemeanors are usually handled in district court, right? So this is where you have like your traffic offenses.
Yes.
Your non-violent low level offenses, like, theft under, shoplifting, theft under 100.
Those are all misdemeanors. Okay.
CDS possession, which is controlled dangerous substance, those types, right?
Okay.
Felony charges, that's where you got possession with intent to distribute, which, let me be clear, let's talk about possession with intent to distribute, because I'm sick of this. Tell you about possession with intent to distribute.
It's my life.
It's a non-violent felony, okay? But possession with intent to distribute could be one dime bag inside of a large dime bag. Right. Now, literally, one dime bag full of weed inside of an empty Ziploc bag, right? They could be like, oh, that's intent to distribute. Okay.
Yeah.
It could be like a small perk, that's intent to distribute. It is all up to the arresting officer. What is simple possession versus what is possession with intent.
So they have discretion over your life and your sentencing.
Yeah.
And the officer can, however they feeling that night,
However they feel that they're supposed to weigh it. They're supposed to have scales and all that,
Yep.
but ain't no way in the world they are not telling the truth in the statement of charges. And half the times they're not even including the grams or anything in the statement of charges because they're not weighing it.
Weighing it.
Okay?
They're not weighing it. They're doing it by eyesight.
Going by eyesight. And you got to get that's two. Now, mind you, are we doing this in the white communities? Because let me tell you, I went to Washington College. I hung around a lot of white people when I was younger. And white people are very fun. They know how to party. Okay. Hello. However, okay, they didn't have to deal with a lot. What? Pills? What?
They've been doing it for years.
And they have for years. Trust me.
Bricks.
Not dealing with all of that. Okay. So you got possession with intent to distribute. That's a nonviolent felony. Okay. That's what folks are getting jammed up on so much. Right. Okay. And then that's in the same box as volume dealers and kingpin charges and, larceny, grand larceny and all yeah. So, I mean, it's all messed up how our crimes are classified. Yeah. So I get how people are looking at other states and they're like, we need to focus on the felons. But I thought that at first too, until I had to be educated by the folks who were actually directly impacted. I was like, sis, I don't mean no harm. We got to do something about but why I got all these misdemeanors? Why you can't do nothing about them? I was like, oh my goodness, you're right.
Yeah, because hey, Karen, I've been saying that like the process, anybody you ask that's like a high risk offender or whatever, it all started off with a simple misdemeanor, a plea out. And misdemeanors birth repeat offender culture.
Wow.
And they birthing a culture of repeat offenders with a system that sets you up that you can never get out of. So you stay rotated in it, you give up in it, and then you try to go all in, and then you wind up being a career felon.
So that's it. So the misdemeanor is the start, and it gets your foot wet, and then you just walk in the puddle and just wet yourself up.
Can't never get out the river.
Never get, because what Twan is also highlighting is this fact that when you look at who's in central bookings, when you look at who's in our detention centers, okay, the majority of them are in there for misdemeanors. They the ones that's cycling in and out, in and out, in and out. Because there's nobody that's really trying to stop that cycle. Majority of them don't need to be in there. Yep. They need access to other things, not that system.
Yep.
But if you let me out, and as soon as I get out, I can't go over here. Okay, I go back to the community where you just gave me permission to go back to. This the only place I try to give you options for where I could go back, but you only approved this one,
and it's chaotic.
Okay? You done approved this one, but now the police department done indicted my whole block. So even me going outside means that what I'm supposed to do?
I'm liable to get 8.
Wow.
It's like, and I always say, like, it's so easy to get repetitiously, like 80% of the community is either using, selling, or got guns.
Wow.
You right.
Don't want to hear, yeah.
And you tell some dudes like you working, he looking at the rest of the hood and saying, like, Slim, that shit you doing? Nah, I need that. Because what you doing don't make sense, because if it was, everybody else would be doing it. And the hard piece is to draw the picture. That's why I tell people, like, I pull guys away from all that. So when they go back over, we clear their mind out, then they can see it and be like, whoa, it's something totally different on the outside. And Karen, like, they showed me that stuff, taking me to Annapolis and seeing things, and then I see like how much I played a part in affecting like really patterns that dudes are caught up in. And I'm telling dudes like, Slim, I already did 2 decades. You don't have to do it. I can give you 2 decades that you can make $32,000 a year for yourself and make $320,000.
Because you can't just, I mean, what Twan is saying, that a lot of times these folks think that, when somebody come home or when they still in the game, right, their way to get them out the game is to be like, all you need to do is get a job. Look, let me tell y'all something right now, okay? I I've run an organization called the Job Opportunities Task Force. Okay. My whole thing, I live and breathe economics every day for this population. And let me tell you, I'm literally turning down judges that are like, why can't I just send my folks to your program? Because they're not ready yet. And it's not fair to try to push them into a job readiness program when there's some other things that we got to put in place for them first.
Yep.
Because if what's going to happen is you're going to expect them to be successful in this job training program. And as soon as they got to miss a class or something, you done violated them.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
So sometimes it's how do we get them into position for eventually getting there?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just always go to them with the traditional, come on, let's get a job. Because like Twan said, so it's only a few of y'all over there and you making how much compared to what I can do over here and just doing that. And I might not even be making as much as that, but this feels better doing it over here. Because a lot of these folks out here, come on, and they're not even making no real money. A lot of times you just got to tell them like, yo, you risking your whole life. You're not even making no real money.
You're not even making no real money.
I told them, like, we were saying some money and I wasn't even seeing the money, right? And at the end, I ain't even had no pennies.
Right.
I told a dude the other day, I say, bro, when you go to court and you got a top-notch lawyer that's already paid for it and you getting some bread, if you hustling and you asking for a public defender, that's a really be the picture to show. And the judge is looking like, okay, you got caught in a house rape, but you got a public defender. Right? That don't even make logic sense.
Wow.
White people don't do that. I'm trying to tell y'all, white people don't do that. They're like, oh no, you're gonna have legal defense.
They don't
have legal defense.
They're
You're
not
gonna have
going
legal
through none of
defense.
that.
Dude,
we're protecting this.
We're protecting this. You ain't getting no public defender. Oh, no. You stayed over there.
Keep your mouth shut.
Unbelievable. I mean, but what is the solution to something like that? I mean, how do you change that? That is a system.
So nobody, that's the, the answer to that question is what nobody really wants to hear. And actually, I won't say anybody, right? The folks I'll say it like this. We live in a society where we want the quick fix.
Yep.
We don't have time, right? It's why now we get our news really quickly. It's got to be compacted and truncated in a way where it's like I need to be able to absorb it in less than 3 minutes. Anything longer than that, I'm scrolling on to the next.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
If I gotta if I can't get this money fast enough, this ain't for me. Okay. It's just it has to be fast. We are talking about, and we kind of touched on this earlier in our discussion, we are talking about a society that is built on white supremacy. The entire country is built on white supremacy. It is built on the notion that there are supposed to be haves and have-nots. And the have-nots are racial groups, okay, that have been enslaved, and we haven't done anything since to really ensure that they're supposed to be okay. And we really can't do anything to make sure that they're going to be able to reach their full potential, because if they reach their full potential, then that might mean that we have less power.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they have moneyed interest in protecting their thing. We, on one hand, we Black folks, right, impacted persons and the like, we are trying to get comfortable with even recognizing that this is our thing and that we have to work together to push back against it or to eliminate it and all of that. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to happen in one legislative session because we're talking about 400 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen in one generation, but we got to start.
And we just have to be strategic about it. Just like they were strategic about building this, we have to be strategic about tearing it down. Okay. And recognize that there are going to be people, and even people who look like us, that are being paid to be used against us.
Yeah.
Right? We got to recognize that we're going to be getting it from every side. And so we're going to have to suffer setbacks, but we just have to be strategic. Power is in numbers. We just need to continue to grow and grow and grow and be willing to learn and collaborate and be willing to recognize lanes. I'm grateful to be able to, be around individuals who practice and taught me humility, where things like constructive criticism, or even, you know, if it's harsh criticism, but I need to hear it. Okay. Like we need to be able to have those types of conversations with each other. Twan knows, like, random times I come out of nowhere popping off being like, why did you? And he's like, sis, first, what are you talking about? Okay, I'm sorry, my bad. But, you know what I mean? Like, we have to be able to still, you know, and then come back and be like, but I love you though. You know, still come back and it's all love. But you have to be able to have those types of relationships to build movements. And right now, everybody want to be on top. Everybody want the quick fix. Everybody want to, you know, be on the spotlight. You'll notice that when you ask me to open up about myself, I made it about Twan. I get very uncomfortable when it's about me.
I heard it.
Because it's not about men.
Yeah, we done moved on. We heard nothing about Karen Young.
And you won't, right? Because this is the I don't know.
But just the thing though, Karen, like you have, because in everything that we discuss, the fight is your experience, and that's where you stay in it because that's what keeps you strong. Gotcha. You understand what I'm saying? And like I always say, like, it's certain things that certain people can't say because litigation ties.
Right.
Certain things I can say, I ain't tied.
Right.
And I want those to come out to say something.
Yeah.
Because I need y'all to see who they are.
Yeah, because I will get fired.
Yeah.
I will get fired.
And that's why I say, like,
I'm so happy I'm autonomous from that type of.
Right. Listen, sis, I can't wait to get there.
Let me tell you about that freedom. But you know what? I work still, so I have to watch what I say sometimes, you know?
Yeah. I get it.
Because we live in this system, and, you know, I have to go to work and I got to look at them people, and they, you know, and they don't like what I say, they're going to get rid of me. That's it.
That's it. And even though I have this platform, I'm appreciative of folks like Twan and others that's like, look, okay, you can't say that. I can.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me one day, they said, man, like, Karen and Nicole building y'all, and I see how y'all collaborating, y'all building units. I said, nah, we building human value. Because, like, the material won't. I done learned you can have money, do all that, but at the end of the day, if the person ain't wealthy, mentally healthy, and through his living, it don't count.
It don't count.
All skin folk ain't kin folk, y'all. If you could tell them from a mile away, I'd be like, oh no, you need to stay over there. We don't trust that.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Wipe them with the cross, y'all. Wipe them with it.
I mean, and we have to know that too. Definitely. And you see it in the city every day. You see it. I mean, it's not crazy. It's not like you can't see this. But the question is how do you help the people who are innocent, the impoverished, who are being criminalized? What is this? What stake do we have to pull them out of the situations that they're in? Because we have more power than they have. Even, you know, in our situations, even though we are in situations, being in poverty and not having to out is a worse situation than I'm in.
Yeah. You know, that's look, that's something I ask myself every day, right? You know, again, like, cannot do it all, right? And you're like, who can we bring on board to help? But you also, you know, recognizing that there are some folks out here who they can bring money to the table, but how they getting that money and how they using that money and all of that, you like,
the money got
know about all that, right?
Yeah.
Because what a lot of times, you know, when we talk about power and numbers and trying to bring people to the table, the most realist, honest, like I don't get nervous and worried when I go before, like, in these stuffy high level boardrooms and all that. I walk in there and, like, do my thing. Okay. Like, you know, I've learned this space. You know where I get nervous and all, because the streets, okay, they see right through all of that.
Yes.
They see right through all of that. You better come correct.
Yes.
Okay. You absolutely better come correct.
Yep.
And so
they know authenticity. You know, they're so raw that they don't have all of these different things that we put on to be in that space. They want authentic. And if you're inauthentic, they're going to call you out for sure.
They are going to call you out. And so if you they not just looking at what's coming out your mouth and what you're saying, they look at who you move with.
Yep.
And sometimes they know stuff about you that you don't even know that they know about you.
They already done the homework.
They already done their homework. So you sitting there presenting to this group, and they at the other end of the table talking about, because I done seen her, and I know that she's okay. So you done already been delegitimized, right? Because they already saw it all. So you got to be real careful how you move, who you operate with, and all of that. And if you are going to move with somebody who they question, you better go explain it to them. You better make sure they okay with it. I can't tell you how many times I had to be like, all right, y'all, seriously, listen, tell you just hear me out. Okay. Like,
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the different levels that you have to go through to bring the right folks to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, right? Because again, can't do it alone. So in bringing the right folks to the table and in figuring out how do we start to help folks on like the granular day-to-day level.
Yes.
But then how do we start to build in a way where we are doing some real like transformational system change? Not even system change. We need to literally rebuild a whole new ecosystem or something. This ain't
you can't rebuild this. You got to dismantle it and start over.
This ain't it. So who needs to be at the table who is trustworthy enough, one, to be at the table, but trustworthy enough to also go in the community and make sure the community feels comfortable enough also coming to the table. Because it can't always be this thing where the table is leading the community. Okay.
The community
tables. The table has got to be informed and influenced and made up of the community.
Yeah.
So you can't build that table too long before you don't start to bring community in. So usually I get to about one person and then I'm like, all right, it's not me no more. Okay, let me go. Let's go.
And one of the hardest things, like a person that gets at the table and has that relationship with the community, he got to know his place and not moving too far to keep a balance for both. And that's the hard piece, right?
So hard, child, it's hard.
Because when it get hot in the kitchen, those that say they love you, you will become the grab bag. And they might not say like, yo, we got you, yo, da-da-da-da. And they will be the ones that lure you in and act like it never happened so they can get right to the table and move you all the way out.
I'm telling you, it's, you know what? It's hard to even talk about these type of alliances because a lot of times we're so acculturated in this society and it's maligned in such insidious behaviors. You understand what I'm saying? And to tell those same people who've been acculturated and educated in a society that is so demoralized.
Yeah.
And then you say, take those same beings and then fight for people, their own people, when they have to spend every day trying to be a part of somebody else's team. You get what I'm saying? And utilize their demoralized tactics and their acculturated issues and all of these things that we do every day as professionals. Because you have, at some point, you have to move along to get along, unfortunately. And your time in doing that, you try to keep your soul intact as much as possible. But sometimes you got to bite your tongue. I mean, fully put your teeth in your tongue.
Look, there are. Look, you do. Like I do
it.
Recognize that the organization I work for and that I now lead, right? I've recognized that me being affiliated with an organization like JOTF, that prior to me being its leader, prior to me even working with the organization, that it was very well respected in respected spaces. Okay. By especially white folks, but white and Black alike, right?
Okay.
So the fact that that reputation was already there allowed me to come in and have a bit of a cushion to very slowly kind of, bloom out to do and say what it is that I want to do and say. Okay. Because there are so many others who are with organizations where they can't do and say and walk and talk like they really want and know they should, because their own livelihood is at stake. And you can't be too upset with folks who are like, I still got bills to pay too. I still got to live too. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this, you know, as much as I can, as easily as I can, is that allows me to at least go to sleep at night.
Right.
But it is also why we have to start figuring out how can we start to provide, you know, create a new system that provides new opportunities for our folks to be profitable, to give back to our communities in a way that doesn't feel like they are operating against our community.
Yes. Yes. And that's why we have to create these opportunities. And one of the reasons why I created this platform is to have these type of conversations. You know, it's to facilitate these type of, first of all, getting to know each other and understanding, you know, what one is good at and what one isn't good at and what one can bring to the table. But one of the biggest things, we don't even know each other. We're not even clear who is who to come to the damn table. You know what I'm saying? You create a table and then you're looking around like, well, who? Because we don't really have these type of places where we can come together and talk and actually build the alliance and actually talk about what can be done. Because particularly, it's going to take a lot of resources, but it's going to take a lot of you definitely have to be dedicated and disciplined and disciplined. You know, and that's not easy when you work and you got your own family and all of these other things, your own lifestyle. So poverty is something that we cannot, I don't think, eradicate all the way. I think what we can do, though, is the way that you approach poverty and the things that are instilled with poverty can be tweaked and changed, whereas people can come out of it and build pathways that their families never go back. I think that's what, because poverty is set up. That's the setup.
The setup.
Yeah, the neighborhoods, the way redlining, they put systems in place to make poverty a viable option. And so to get out of that, you got to have viable tactics and strategy. And I don't think we can do it with just one or two people. It has to be a whole, you develop a system.
It's like gotta be a system.
Get out the system.
It's got to be, you know, numbers, populations of individuals. It has to be policy reform.
Yep.
We got to change laws, right? Like we could protest all we want. And I mean, let's be clear. I also want to make sure that we are not downplaying the power of taking it to the streets in an organized, strategic manner, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because we've seen the benefits of protest and being able to just, you know, stand our ground, right? Absolutely. But we have really seen the success of the protest when we couple that with policy reform and advocacy. Look, we will march in Baltimore, we'll march in Annapolis. They tell us, listen, when it wasn't a pandemic, we used to do these things called March for Justice in Annapolis. It was our lobby days. Wow. Every year I get in trouble because, you know, are you supposed to reserve the space in Annapolis? Everybody has their lobby days, okay? So seriously, like you got the unions and everybody, they okay. But when it's my turn, when I'm like, okay, it's our lobby day, they're like, Miss York, how many this year? And like and I mean, they're like, we got to make sure we have enough security. I'm like, wow, we don't even be going. But the reason why, like, there's never really an issue.
Because you're shaking the tables. Yeah.
Shaking the tables. And then when it's like, write your description, like, who are you bringing? And like, and they only give you like, you know, write it in, you know, 7 words. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm bringing hundreds of people with criminal records to Annapolis. I mean, I only got 7 words. So like,
they don't like that.
They don't like it. They're like, no marches. We'd be like, okay, what we do, Tom? We'd be marching right up the main street to the State House. They'd be blocking traffic. But I mean, like that, those are the things that we have to do, right? To be able to show that we're following y'all. We are watching you, okay? We understand that in addition to us protesting and all of this, we have to protest for policy reform. Because if you really think about it, the only reason why we're seeing all that we see right now is because there were laws put on the books that allowed this to happen. Laws either we didn't know about and it's happening, or laws that we do know about, but people are fighting hard to keep them on the books.
Yeah.
And so if you're not building in your communities, educating, empowering, engaging, all of those things, and ensuring that folks understand the policy piece, okay? That policy piece, because this is the thing, the streets understand when things not right. It's like, and I'll give you an example. On the streets, folks talk a lot about this thing, overcharging. Man, I got overcharged. Overcharging is when they charge you with everything in the kitchen sink. Okay. I mean, you got folks that's got about 37 charges, right? Half of the charges is the same thing.
Same thing.
Okay. Like, no, seriously, it's just the same thing. It's like they just move the words around.
Wow.
They just move the words around. Okay. So everyone was familiar with overcharging. And they're like, man, I got overcharged, all these charges, and I can't get my record expunged. But let me tell you the technical way to talk about that. So that's the street way to talk about it, right? This is the Annapolis way to talk about it. You couldn't get your record expunged because of something called the unit rule.
Yep. The
unit what?
The unit rule.
Unit rule.
Trying to tell you, once now that's out on the streets, that unit rule. This is the unit rule. When you interact with law enforcement, okay, and they're about to charge you, right? Remember, the police officer gets to determine the charges, the arresting officer, right? What your charges are. They're going to write out their statement of charges, what they believe happened, and based on what they believe happened and the interaction that they had and all that, this is what you should be charged with. Okay. So from this incident, we're going to charge you with this. We're going to charge you with this. We're going to charge you for this. Okay. So you got these charges. Now it's time to go to court. Your lawyer in the state, they talking, negotiating, plea bargaining is about to happen. Okay. So doing plea bargaining, they're like, all right, what we suggest is that you plead out of say your 10 charges. Okay. Out of your 10 charges, we suggest that you plead guilty to 2, okay? And then we're going to drop the remaining charges. We're going to drop the 8 charges, okay? So you only got to plead guilty to 2. And if you plead guilty to 2, we're going to give you time served. And then you got, probation for 15 months, okay? So you like, oh, all right. I mean, avoid jail time or like serious jail time. I'm going to do that, okay? So you thinking like, I only really got the convictions to worry about. No, because you've been overcharged and because the unit rule prohibits expungement of non-convictions if you weren't eligible for expungement of all of them. So of those 10 charges, right? Yep. The unit rule says if all 10 aren't eligible for expungement, none of them are eligible for expungement.
All or nothing, shorty.
So you got folks walking around. So if I'm an employer and I go to pull up your record, I'm not looking at what you were found guilty of. I'm not looking at what the favorable disposition was. All I see is armed robbery, attempt murder, and we got to think about trumped up charges and overcharge and just how this thing goes. And this is following people around. And you mean to tell me that I can't get rid of that when the state could not meet their burden to prove that I was guilty? That's why they dropped the charges, because they have enough evidence to prove that I did it. But now I got to keep it on my record. You want me to keep it on my record while at the same time the police officers during the police reform effort right now, you have police officers saying that they want their disciplinary records to not have access, for the public not to have access to them. If they were not found guilty, then nobody should have access to their disciplinary record.
And that's okay.
But if we weren't found guilty, everybody should have. But you, the police, we pay your salary. You supposed to protect and serve. We not.
This FOP, they're another one. They got this policing, this slave patrol thing they got going has to be dismantled too. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's got to be
right. These systems, they are so incestuous.
Yes.
So incestuous. And it's all to ensure that you can't climb out of it. Yep. That you're always going to be digging. That you always going to be, just trying to figure out, how I'm just going to get to point B. And then maybe to point C. Now I'm back at point A.
Like Karen, like the funny part, like I tell people that, like when we went for the post-conviction bill, right? That I explained to them that all the years I had ever been going to prison, I had never heard about illegal representation.
Oh.
But I do remember there were certain things when I was in court, I was like, yo, object that. You should be asking them, where was they at in the covert position? You know what I'm saying? What was he able to see through houses and whatever? Because like, I know the block, I was in it.
Right. I know the block.
I know the block. You can't see in the back of the alley unless it's no split way, unless you got X-ray vision.
Right.
You know, and like when I start, like when the unit rule, that's why I was telling you, when you was like, Twan, you have to be here for the unit rule because your jacket is nothing but the unit rule.
Trying to tell you, it's very rare you're gonna find somebody that's only got jammed up on one offense.
Yep.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Wow.
Very rare. Usually you got 2 or more charges. And when you talk to folks, the majority of those charges are misdemeanors.
Yep.
And this right here is so it hurts so bad. And then on top of that, when you go to jail, everything's expensive. For your family to come, it's expensive.
Phone calls.
You to talk on the phone, it's expensive.
Them little packages. Let me tell you, you go online. Look, that's about to be another thing I'm gonna advocate on behalf of. I'm like, you want people to pay all of this, and they only getting like 2 packs of this, 1 pack of that. That's not fair for the individual that's behind the fence, but it's also not fair for the family members that are also just trying to.
Yes, and you move these individuals so far, then they got to even get a visit.
And where the money going?
Where's this money going? Where is it?
Because I know you're not paying the inmates.
Hey,
Whoa.
You get 90 cents a day to $2.25. That's it.
Where's this money going? And they never have to make this. That's why they want to make every prison private, so they can get powerful from the money.
Yeah.
Because it's
Maryland always likes to brag that they don't have private prisons, right? But this is the thing. How you gonna brag about having private prisons when you still running the same like slave-like institutions? You ain't no better.
You're not no better. You
just gonna move it to private corporations? Like you the state.
But
it's a private corporation.
But this the hit though. Hey Karen, but the hit is all the trades and all that stuff.
Sis, I be confused. Go ahead.
The trades and all that stuff is private contractors.
That's another thing.
So they all
do that. Oh my goodness, what's it called, Twan? MCE or something. MCE, Maryland Correctional Enterprise. Just listen to this. Maryland Correctional Enterprise, by law, okay? This is state law, okay? By law, agencies and governments, local governments, so the Baltimore City government, the Prince George's County government,
POs, child support,
all of them, right? If ever they want any furniture, if they want signs, if they want mouse pads, anything that has like the seal of their city or county or the like, they gotta go through inmate labor first because they have to go to they gotta go through the lowest bid. They gotta figure out how they can get it cheaper first.
That's how they fuel their systems.
Yes, literally by law, they gotta go to them first. And if they don't want to use inmate labor and want to use another company, then they have to give a good reason why. Yeah. But by law, you gotta go to them. So it's like they not paying anything, really.
Absolutely. So MCE is bringing in the most contracts and paying out the less to the contractees.
And then got the nerve to complain that they not getting enough contracts because you got folks that's working in local governments now that's like, all right, we feel a little bit weird about doing this. So why can't we contract with companies that employ formerly incarcerated individuals?
Yeah. Why not?
Now they getting jammed up out of state because the state's like, no, you're supposed to go through us first over through MCE. But folks are like, we would if y'all would pay the inmates. Like, I mean, but y'all not. So, and then they try to say, oh, well, if you guys don't go through us, then we can't train the inmates. Okay, first of all, y'all wasn't even really training them like that in the first place, so don't come at me like that.
Yo, you just heard the malicious Manning machine caller system. It's crazy, but it is what it is. You just heard that A side, we about to drop the B side, but we need you to subscribe to blackboxradio.com. Participate so we can proliferate. The content is relevant, It's consistent and it's straight sexy. Drop that B-side, DZ. Let's go.